So I decided to do this video because I think it's important that other women out there that are going through similar situations know that they're not alone, and to know the telltale signs for certain things, and to know that they need to be vigilant about taking care of their health and their bodies. I am an extremely private person, even though I'm on YouTube, but I just felt like this was something that I needed to share. My husband and I talked it over, and he encouraged me that if this is something I want to do because it's going to help others, then I should go ahead and do it. So I'm putting my own feelings aside, and just going to give you the raw, uncut truth about what happened to me with my 30 fibroids. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I have not been here in a little over 2 months, and I have a really great reason for that. As you see by the title, had quite a bit of an ordeal going on, and I had no idea that those things were actually inside my body. So I know a lot of women suffer from this. I figured it's something that I should talk about because a lot more women need to hear this, because I myself didn't know it was such a prevalent, circumstance that so many women go through, especially African American women. And I just felt like it's something that I should talk about today because we need to have this conversation. All right, so guys, my body basically became a place for a bunch of fibroids that I had no idea that I had. I knew that there were changes taking place in my body. I just didn't know what was going on, or to what degree, or how serious it was. I kept saying to my husband that something's off, something's wrong. And I was feeling all different types of feelings. I was feeling lethargic. I wasn't feeling like myself. My stomach just blew up out of nowhere. Last year in November, my stomach was really flat. And then by January, February, my stomach was really high and puffy. And it just did so many things that I didn't expect it to do, including take a shot at my self-esteem. It was just horrible. But this was my timeline, and I had surgery roughly over 3 weeks ago. And as you can see, your girl's up and about, still taking care of herself and all that good stuff. But it was quite an ordeal. So back in October, November of last year, I took my IUD out because I had one in, and for my personal reasons, I took it out. Then I decided that, it's probably best for me to put it back in after, just thinking about certain things and my timeline for certain goals. I put it back in January of this year. No more than 2 weeks after that, I started bleeding heavily, and it was kind of strange. And I said to my husband, I'm not sure what was going on. And mind you, I had just gotten married in January. So it's like, I don't know what's going on. This is really strange. Video is going to be a little graphic. You're going to see, I'm going to show you guys the fibroids because it's unreal, and I just need people to see what was going on. But I said to him, my periods aren't typically heavy and painful. It just out of nowhere started happening. So I decided to go back to my OBGYN, who took out the IUD and put it back in, and, let her know what was going on. So she was like, it could be, just a change in hormones, stuff like that. But when she went in and did the examination, she did a vaginal examination, and she, put her fingers in and started feeling around. And she looked at me and she's like, your uterus is the size of a 5-month-old pregnancy. And at that point, I'm not sure what kind of emotions I was feeling, because like I said, my stomach just got really big out of nowhere, and it really was, it was just shocking to me, because I'm like, a 5-month-old pregnancy, that's almost more than halfway through an actual pregnancy, and I'm not pregnant. That's the size of my uterus. Why? And how did you not see this before? Like, I was literally here like a month ago. What's going on? So she's like, you know what? I am thinking fibroids, but we're not sure. Let's do a biopsy to make sure nothing's cancerous, that everything's, I think it's benign, not malignant, because malignant is the bad one. And she sent off the tissue to the lab. Everything came back fine. However, I went to do an ultrasound because she requested that I do that. So I went, did the ultrasound, and it was quite interesting. I looked at the monitor. My husband looked at the monitor. We saw, 2 or 3 pretty sizable fibroids, like almost the size of grapefruits or oranges. And I was just like, okay, interesting. Where the hell did this come from? However, it progressed to be more painful as the months went by. And this was this was like February, March, by the time I did the ultrasound. Fast forward to July, my husband and I were going to New York, and I had this really sharp pain, and I couldn't even sit. Like, I had to recline my seat all the way back. The entire ride, it was like a 3-hour ride. And it's a familiar pain that I've been having, that I had for about maybe a year and a half, and it wasn't as intense, so it's clearly getting worse. But that pain that I have for a year and a half, I'm like, something's wrong. And again, graphic, but it's almost like when you're constipated, but it really, really hurt. It cramped, to the point where I could double up, lay on the floor and kind of double up, in fetal position. It was terrible. But eventually I would get relief after a few days, which is not normal. So if you see that happening, go to your doctor, figure out what it is. In my wildest dreams, I would have never thought fibroids, especially to that magnitude. So back to the whole pain in July, I was like, you know what? We have to fast track this. Guys, I had the most horrible experience because I decided to go to the doctor's office that I typically have gone to for years, which they completely missed everything. Comes to find out, the fibers were more posterior, which is in the back, which is why my stomach was, flatter in the front for a very long time, and I didn't know. So apparently they just decided to float to the front for whatever reason, and I'm thankful they did, because it could have progressed to something worse. And I probably wouldn't have known, I didn't the whole time. So I went to a doctor, got my first opinion. Guys, I wish I could blacklist this doctor. He was so condescending, just so rude, insensitive, and just unprofessional. And in my opinion, I felt like he wanted to more so give me a hysterectomy versus a myomectomy, which is the removal of the fibroids. He was really mean. I'll have to give you guys a whole detailed story about what happened in that doctor's office, another video. But it's important that when you feel uncomfortable, you got to remember this is your life that you're placing in, the hands of a stranger, basically, who doesn't have any vested interest in whether you live or die. And it's horrible to say that, because if you're in the profession, especially the medical field, you should have some compassion for your patients, not sympathy in terms of absorbing what it is that the patient's going through emotionally, but do your job and, just have a human factor, a human element to it. But that's a whole other story. My husband and I came out the doctor's office crying at my second visit with him, because I decided to give him a second chance, and it was way worse the second time. However, there was a sense of urgency for me to get this done. And I decided, you know what, my husband and I, we talked about it. We said, okay, we're going to do a second opinion. We found someone else, and we were very comfortable with that doctor, his track record, his demeanor, everything. So crazy, because in the first visit, I asked the doctor, who is a head surgeon at one of the most prestigious hospitals in the state where I live, and he said, oh, there are no other options. And that left me to think, well, geez, in 2020, we have no other options. However, the second doctor told me that there was something called an accessa, which is also a surgical procedure. It is invasive, but less invasive than the actual myomectomy. So what it is that there will be a camera inserted in your stomach on either side, and a camera, I guess, will be put in, and some instrument to shrink the size of the fibroids to half the size of what it really is, and then it would just stay in you, and it would be dead, but it would remain there. My husband and I are planning to have a child within next year, so we're like, you know what? If I already have such problematic large fibroids, that's not going to be healthy for the room for the baby to grow. So we're like, you know what? Let's make the executive decision to remove it. Said, all right, cool. Schedules actual surgery with that doctor. But I had a really good friend of mine. She made me aware that she had fibroids, and she did the myomectomy 3 years ago. And she is a very good childhood friend of mine. And I remember when she was little, or when we were little, we'd have to take her to the nurse's office because she would double up in pain. I mean, the worst cramps ever, like throwing up. It was horrible. And I guess come to find out that she had fibroids. So that's probably one of the telltale signs that you have it as well. So check that out, especially in your daughters from a younger age. Just, follow up. So, and I know this is more like a story versus bullet points, but I really just want to get everything out to you guys because it's important that you know these things. So on the second opinion, schedule the surgery. The third opinion was the doctor who did my good friend's surgery. So I went to New York. His name is Dr. Kanos. I can proudly say his name because he is an amazing, gifted, professional doctor. I got to tell you, when God bless certain people with the hands to do their work, he's just absolutely one of them, and I thank him so much. So I went to him, did a third opinion, scheduled for surgery maybe a week after, or a week and a half after I saw him, and went in, got the surgery done. It was the best experience I've ever had. It's weird to say it, but I'm not coaxed to say this or sponsored or anything like that. But shout out to Mount Sinai. You guys, the crew there is amazing. Like, I really need to go back and like treat them or something, because they're on the front lines, and just to get this stuff done, it's not easy. So I went in for my surgery. Prep for my surgery was nothing major. I did the norm stuff, don't eat, I think 12 hours to 8 hours prior to surgery, the usual things. Went in, got the surgery done. It was like 2 hours. My husband was there. He watched in the waiting room on the monitor because they let your family members know step by step what's going on. It's COVID now, so they're not a lot of people allowed. My mom was there, my daughter was there, another family member was there. They weren't allowed to come up, especially because my daughter's a minor, but my husband was there, and he was there when I woke up. But when I woke up is when I got the surprise of my life, because initially on the ultrasound, it showed, like I said, 3 sizable fibroids. And, I was aware that were some other little ones. So the doctor came in, was like, hey, how are you feeling? And I'm like, I'm feeling great, because now I'm relieved because these things are out of me. I'm like, all right, cool. I probably had like 8 fibroids, 3 sizable ones. Girl. When the doctor showed me the picture of the fibroids, I had 30 fibroids, 30. When I went to his appointment and he was showing me, pictures of other women's fibroids that he did, and I was like, so, wow, this one had 15, that one had 27, and I was like, 27? How is that even possible? How does she walk around with 27 fibroids in her body? And come to find out, I had 30. Incredible. And when I asked the doctor, I'm like, so his resident, I said, so how many do you guys usually take out of people? They're like 2, maybe 3. I was just like, how did I not know? How did I not know? I mean, I felt the pain and the discomfort in my body, but 30 fibroids, and listen, it was like 3 sizable ones, and then there were other decent sized fibroids there, maybe 10 of them, and then the others were like really tiny. But that's still a lot. No wonder my uterus was the size of a 5-month-old pregnancy. Like, I could not believe it. Like, it was insane to me that was my reality. So I spent 2 nights in the hospital just to ensure that I was healed. You know, I wasn't going to go home because I didn't live right around the corner. I lived like 3 hours away. So the doctor recommended I spent a night there. But I wanted to be sure. So he's like, cool, you can spend another night. All right, so I did that. My hospital stay was very pleasant. The pain was no joke. It is like a C-section because they cut you in the same area that my daughter's coming in. Making a video. Yep. Step back out for a sec, honey. That is beautiful. Thanks. So, I lost my train of thought. Oh my God. All right. Yeah. But yeah, so I spent the second night there and everything went smoothly, but the pain is nothing to play with. It's just like a C-section for the mamas out there that have had C-sections. You know the deal. It's the same process. I had dissolvable stitches, and literally right after the surgery, you could barely tell that I had a cut. Today, when I look at it, you can't even tell that I had surgery. Like, that man his hands are blessed. Thank you, Dr. Kanos. You're amazing. You know, it's been an interesting ordeal. I just, again, want to talk to women about it because it does affect a lot of African American women. From what I've heard, Asian women, you know, it's something that's prevalent in our communities. So just be vigilant about your body, your follow-ups, your checkups. And I'm someone that does regular checkups, and I'm like, I can't believe they missed it, but they weren't looking for anything pertaining to that, and I had no complaints regarding that, so I can't really blame them for that. But it's so just shocking to know that I had that magnitude of fibroids inside my body, and I had no idea. They have been growing probably for 10 years, and I had no idea because they're like, they just don't grow that quickly overnight. So, you know, ladies, if you feel anything going wrong with your body, don't let anyone discourage you to say, well, oh, you don't know what it is. That's the problem. You don't know what it is. You know, so just be vigilant about your health. Take care of yourself. Eat as properly as you can. I basically lead a healthy enough lifestyle. I think so. I can't, and there's no rhyme or reason as to why these things happen, and they just do. But to have 30 fibroids, that's insane. It's really insane. So I'm gonna go ahead and insert the pictures. It's graphic. If you're not, you know, too good about that stuff, just click off this part of the video and thanks for watching. But if you're not, take a look at them. And it's just my reality, guys, and I really think it's important for women to know this. So happy to be back. I will be doing more videos. I don't have a timetable right now because I'm busy trying to figure out life and marriage and, you know, family and career and stuff like that. So just be healthy, happy, whole, smile every day, drink your water, exercise, eat properly, pray, meditate, just focus on you. All right, ladies, you take care. And if there's anything I left out in this video, please feel free to ask me, drop your questions. I'd be more than happy to share. And I'll probably just drop something in the description if I forget it. All right, bye.